Wendy Williams has finally taken the stand. Not on her radio show, not behind a microphone in front of millions, but under oath inside a federal courtroom. For decades, she's been labeled as controversial, unstable, even toxic, all for speaking truths that others were too afraid to acknowledge. Now, she's no longer just a voice on the airwaves. She's a witness in a federal case that could shake Hollywood and hip-hop to their core. What she revealed about Sean Diddy Combs, Jay-Z, and Oprah Winfrey wasn't speculation or hearsay. It was sworn testimony. And what she described is nothing short of a calculated machine of silence, control, and retaliation designed to keep people like her from ever reaching a courtroom. As cameras rolled, microphones listened, and the nation waited, Wendy walked through the doors, calm yet determined, ready to speak not just for herself, but for every person who was told to shut up and disappear. She didn't come here to cause drama. She came to expose the truth. Because for years, powerful figures tried to bury her, to erase her voice, and now, sitting before a judge and jury, she made sure they'd hear every word they tried so hard to silence. Through the highs and lows of her career, Wendy Williams became one of the most recognizable voices in entertainment. Starting in radio, she built a brand around fearless commentary, celebrity gossip, and unfiltered honesty. Her show, The Wendy Williams Show, became a daytime staple where stars flocked for exposure and often found themselves dissected by Wendy's sharp tongue. But behind the bold personality and signature purple chair was a woman who refused to toe the line even when it cost her everything. Over the years, Wendy was sued, blackballed, and publicly ridiculed for speaking out against powerful men in music and media. Despite the backlash, she kept going, always returning to one theme. The system was rigged, and the people calling her crazy were the ones running the game. She spoke out about Diddy's infamous parties long before it was safe to do so, warning listeners about NDAs, intimidation tactics, and the industry's ability to erase anyone who threatened the status quo. Many dismissed her words as over-the-top tabloid talk, but Wendy never stopped insisting she had proof. Now, sitting in that courtroom, she was proving them all wrong, and exposing how far some would go to make sure she stayed quiet. Under oath, Wendy wasted no time diving into the heart of her testimony, the culture surrounding Sean Diddy Combs. From the moment she started speaking his name on the air, she said, the consequences began. She detailed a pattern of behavior that painted Diddy not just as a mogul, but as someone who ran an empire of fear, influence, and manipulation. She recalled how radio station managers warned her to stop talking about him, how advertisers pulled out, and how threats came subtly at first. "You're doing too much, Wendy," they'd say, and then more aggressively. Wendy claimed she was literally chased out of her own studio by a girl group allegedly sent by Diddy himself after she criticized them as washed up. That, she argued, was no coincidence, it was coordination. She presented documents showing a timeline of events aligning with her claims, including internal emails from executives pulling support after mentions of Diddy on her show. She described his network of lawyers and public relations handlers, detailing how they worked together to ensure any criticism of him vanished quickly. Most chillingly, she spoke about the environment at his legendary parties. Rooms filled with controlled access, medical teams on standby, and attendees signing NDAs before entering. This wasn't just partying, she insisted. This was orchestration, and she had spent years trying to warn the world. When asked about Jay-Z, Wendy's tone sharpened. She reminded the court that you couldn't talk about Diddy's behavior without acknowledging those who stood beside him, and that included Jay-Z. She brought up Foxy Brown, the young rapper who signed with Rockefeller Records when she was just 15, while Jay-Z was already 27. Reading lyrics from Foxy's early tracks aloud, Wendy questioned why a grown man would write such provocative lines for a teenager. She detailed rumors within the industry, stories of Jay-Z picking Foxy up from high school, buying her gifts, taking her shopping, and arranging hair appointments. To Wendy, this wasn't mentorship, it was grooming. Then she dropped something even darker. A rumored tape involving Jay-Z, Foxy Brown, and Jamie Foxx disappeared after Foxy's home was burglarized. She let the implications hang in the air, asking if the timing was really just a coincidence. She explained how she faced immediate pushback for bringing up these allegations on her show, losing sponsors and being called toxic. She showed the court records of calls and emails from representatives trying to isolate her professionally. Wendy made it clear she wasn't attacking Jay-Z for drama. She was exposing patterns that needed to be investigated, and she paid heavily for it. Then came the part many weren't prepared for. Wendy's explosive testimony about Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. She described a different kind of power, not just wealth or fame, but influence that could erase careers overnight. Wendy testified that after she publicly criticized the movie Precious, which both Tyler Perry and Oprah supported, her access to the industry collapsed. Executives who once returned her calls suddenly ignored her. Invitations to major events dried up. She claimed that Tyler Perry played a role in blackballing her, citing sources who told her off the record that her name was being passed around as unstable due to things she was saying about Diddy. But it was the story about Oprah that stunned the courtroom. Wendy revealed she had confided in the talk show legend about her own past trauma, trusting her with deeply personal information. Yet, shortly afterward, Wendy's abuser appeared on Oprah's show. While Wendy was being silenced, she described this not as betrayal, but as retaliation. She shared an accidentally forwarded email from a PR firm handling crisis management for both Tyler Perry's studio and a Bad Boy-affiliated brand. The subject line read, "Managing Optics, Wendy, Puff, Tyler." Just that, and no further explanation. Wendy made it clear the silence wasn't accidental, it was coordinated. Wendy didn't stop there. She laid out the bigger picture, a culture of abuse, secrecy, and systemic protection that went beyond individual celebrities and reached into the very foundations of the entertainment industry. She described a network of enablers, lawyers, publicists, executives, and even entire PR firms working behind the scenes to maintain a carefully curated illusion of glamour and success. She explained how NDAs were used not just to protect business deals, but to silence victims and witnesses. She talked about financial penalties, smear campaigns, and relentless legal threats that ensured most people thought twice before speaking out. Wendy admitted that she wasn't the only one who had seen the truth. Plenty of others knew what was happening. But many were either bought off, discredited, or blacklisted. She recalled how difficult it was to find guests willing to openly criticize certain names on her show, noting that producers would get calls threatening lawsuits or sponsorship pullouts. She even mentioned a secret list, unwritten but universally understood, of untouchable figures in the industry. Cross them, and your career would vanish. She was proof of that. For years, she fought back alone, knowing full well the cost. But now, under oath, she was making sure that silence could no longer protect the guilty. Wendy then turned to the evidence, the tangible, undeniable pieces that backed up every claim she made. She presented old show transcripts, call logs, emails exchanged between executives, and a detailed timeline of events that aligned perfectly with the prosecution's case. She held up NDAs signed by individuals who attended Diddy's infamous parties, highlighting clauses stating that any violation could result in financial penalties and public retaliation. She also produced a copy of an internal memo from a luxury hotel chain confirming arrangements for a presidential suite. Extra linens, candle lighting, and discretion measures. Dated the same year, Cassie Ventura was still linked to Diddy. But perhaps the most shocking piece of evidence was a photograph entered into court records. In it, Diddy, Tyler Perry, and a prominent media consultant known for crisis management were seen smiling together at a 2019 gala event. Wendy emphasized the significance. These weren't random encounters. They were connections rooted in damage control. She also revealed that she had been offered an NDA herself, with promises of a syndicated TV deal if she agreed to stop speaking about certain topics. She rejected it then. And now, that decision was paying off. Every document she presented served a purpose, to show that this wasn't conspiracy theory. It was reality, hidden in plain sight for years. The fallout from Wendy's testimony was immediate and seismic. Within hours, social media exploded with reactions, disbelief, outrage, and shock from fans and insiders alike. Major news outlets scrambled to cover the revelations, with headlines questioning the future of Diddy's legal battle and the reputations of those named alongside him. Industry insiders whispered about the potential for new investigations, and longtime critics of the music and media elite seized on the opportunity to demand accountability. Speculation ran rampant about whether other voices would follow Wendy's lead. Voices that had remained silent out of fear, financial pressure, or legal constraints. Some speculated that attorneys representing other high-profile figures were already preparing counter-narratives, damage control strategies, and legal defenses. Meanwhile, the accused remained largely silent. Diddy's legal team issued no comment. Jay-Z's representatives remained tight-lipped, and neither Oprah nor Tyler Perry had publicly addressed the claims. But the silence itself felt telling. Wendy's words ignited a firestorm that could no longer be contained by behind-the-scenes maneuvering. The walls were starting to crack, and Wendy had handed the sledgehammer to the world. As she concluded her testimony, Wendy Williams sat taller, composed, and resolute. She wasn't afraid anymore. For years, she was attacked, humiliated, and discarded because she dared to speak inconvenient truths. Now, she had delivered them under oath, in a room where lies carried consequences. She looked at the jury and reminded them that Diddy wasn't on trial alone. The entire ecosystem that protected him was also on display. The labels, the executives, the influencers, the silent allies who benefited from the culture of fear. She reiterated that this wasn't just about one man's misconduct. It was about a system built to shield the powerful from accountability. And she was living proof that system had failed. As she stepped down from the stand, the courtroom remained silent, absorbing the weight of everything she had said. Wendy left the room not as the woman they tried to destroy, but as the one who lived to tell the tale. And now, the world was finally listening. If you believe in the power of truth, if you've ever questioned why some stories never see the light of day, hit that like button. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think will break the silence next? And don't forget to subscribe for more updates as this story continues to unfold. Because the tower is shaking, and we're just getting started.